Mangal Maitri students. So, as you know, very soon your week 1 will be coming. So, we are revising the chapters. So, here is the revision of chapter 1, system organization. As I come to know, there are some new systems, those talk about the computer and its organization type of. You must studied it in the class 6, 7th and 8th in a very brief way. The same thing is in an expanded way in this chapter. So the thing is that what is the computer? The first thing that question arises in our mind, that what the computer is. Is this a machine? Only a machine? No, not at all. So computer is an advanced electronic device that takes raw data and as input, and the user process it, then it interchange into the information and gives us output. Output means processed information, you can say, the final information you get after processing. Then now the question is what the processing is. Processing is the required action taken by the system or by the computer that user instructed in the form of program, in the form of commands, or commands could be of any type, by the graphics. For example, while you click on the next or click on the save in your MS Word window, then what it does, it just save your content or save your page. So, it works accordingly whatever you instruct it. Means computer can't do work by itself, it just follow the instructions in these instructions could be in any format, in the form of commands or in the form of program. So, I think it is clear that what the computer is, it is an electronic device that follow your instruction only. So, it is not only a machine can be on and off and only, but it gradually follows one by one after one, the instruction given by us. The basic functions of computers are inputting the data, processing the data, then interchanging that data into information and give us output, and then after storing that output for the long period. These 4 basic functions that computer performs with the help of different type of devices, input devices, output devices, the processing units and the storage devices also. So, the key terms that we use in this whole system of computer processing is the first is the computer system, as you know. It include a monitor, a CPU and a UPS most probably, and a printer and all whatever you want, the keyboard, the mouse and all. So, basically the computer system comprises of the hardware plus software plus user, that these 3 combinedly form a computer system. Computer is not only a screen or not only a CPU, it's a these only are the hardware type of devices. If you not install any type of software inside it, then it will not work. Okay, there is a software, there is some hardware like monitor and keyboard and all, but there is no user to use it, to switch on it, then it will also not work. So, these 3 form a computer system. And what the hardware is, another question. The hardware included the internal devices like hard disk, motherboard and processors and the peripheral other devices like printer and monitor, mouse. So, and the softwares are the programs or the instructions, the small instructions written in a sequence. These are called programs, and they combinedly the set of program is called a software or an application. Sometimes the set of application is also in software. For example, MS Office is in a software, it is a set of instructions, and Paint is also in software. Its application, though it is a part of software only. So, we can say that the software is a set of instruction and user is a person obviously. So, when we talk about the computer is not been in the same manner, in the same shape as we see it nowadays. Uh, it has started in the 1940s with the first generation of its. When there are used the vacuum tubes instead of the processors. They are made up of glass, and they heated soon because of the electric current generated between them, and that's why the maintenance was quite expensive, and the size was too big. So the computer system, affording of computer system is not easy at that time as we are now. So these the first generation computers are ENIAC, UNIVAC and EDVAC. These three were the basic computers that developed very first, and then come after the 1956 to 1963 there are second generation is there, and they started to use transistors instead of the vacuum tubes. So the size became a little bit smaller, but yet it is expensive and very slow also, because transistors are the circuits basically, and they use it. And the third generation, then after 1964 to 71, they use the electric circuits. These circuits informed on a plate, on a silicon plate, on a copper plate or the silicon plate, and then they use it. So the size became a little bit more smaller, and the computer became cheaper and affordable. The size became as per the tabletop, you can say, near about 6 by 6 at that time too, though it was too big in comparison of today. And then the fourth generation, that is the 1972 to present. This generation used the ICs, or we can say this not the ICs particularly, but the silicon chips. These integrated circuit, those are used in the third generations, are now changing into the chips, microchips, and these chips are developed in the small chips, silicon chips. They are developed, and then they take the place of the vacuum tubes, then after the transistor, then after the ICs. And now the size of the computer, because the microchips are much more smaller than the ICs, so the size of the computer also get the smaller and cheap also, because it's low maintenance machine now. So the fourth generation is doing work as well. You are doing work on your laptops and your desktops. They all are belongs to the fourth generation. Then after the fifth generation to present and the beyond, what we are just planning for the future, that is we are talking about here the artificial intelligence, where the machine doesn't need any user. Can you imagine? There is no user need to be. Once you have programmed it, and then it will work for itself. It's from machine, the journey of from machine to intelligent machine. So this is the going on, and the whole world is working on it, that it became this dream became a possibility, that the sensible machine can be developed that can work as per the instructions, as per the instruction given, and the decision making power, with the decision making power, not only the instruction given, but the decision making power according to the situation, like the human being. So that is artificial intelligence that we are working for. Then now the question arises that what the architecture of the computer. So the architecture of the computer is on the what is the designing, or what is the component, what are the components of the computer. So basically the computer consists of 3 units: input, output and processing units. So the input unit included the keyboard, mouse, and some other mediums to input the data, any medium. They all are in the joystick, there could be a camera. So all these are. So they become the input units. Then the output units, like printer, like monitor, all these are the output unit. Then the processing. The processing is included 3 type of things. It include the memory, ALU, arithmetic logical unit, and the processing unit. The arithmetical logical unit and the processing unit, as you know, These three are the parts of the CPU. So you can say that the CPU is a processing unit. Yes, it is, and it is also called the brain of the computer also, the CPU. And because whole the thinking program, whole the decision making performs here. So this is the basic architecture of computer. While we talk about the central processing unit, as I told you that there is a set of memory where the data is stored after processing by the ALU and the CU control unit. So there are basically when we talk about the memory, it's a storage medium in the inside the computer. The data is take place over there. So there are only most probably three type of memories. Number one is the volatile memory. Basically of two type, volatile and non-volatile. Volatile is the temporary memory, that is called the RAM, random access memory. It works according to the electric charge passed on. As the electric charge passed off, it get off. It also get off. So if you switched off your computer, the whole memory, that is random access memory, can be collapsed. And the second thing that comes is the non-volatile memory, that is ROM. It could be of two types, cache memory and the secondary memory. While we talk about the ROM is the read only memory. So it could be divided into two parts, like the cache memory and the secondary memory. The cache memory is the random access memory basically, but sometimes it is that a computer microprocessor can access more quickly than it accesses regular RAM. As the microprocessor processes data, it takes first in the cache memory, and if it finds the data there from a previous reading of data, it does not have to do the more time consuming reading of data from larger memory. So it has two types. L1 cache is on the same chip as the microprocessor, and L2 is usually a separate static RAM, SRAM chip, static RAM chip. So you can say that the cache memory is a part of RAM, random access memory, or a volatile memory. While you talk about the non-volatile, the read-only memory, these are the type of memory that stores the data, and we can use it for reading that data again and again. For example, hard disk, optical discs, CDs and the DVDs that we are using nowadays, pen drives, floppy disks, the memory cards, the external hard drives, and the Blu-ray discs. The external hard disk most probably used by all the persons. And now while we talk about the memory, then we must come to the measurement of the memory. How can you guess that how much memory is there left or how much is occupied if there is not any unit. So here I am explaining the units of the memory. The smallest unit of the memory is a bit, which means either 0 or 1, a single bit. So 1 bit is the 0 and 1, then 8 bit equals to 1 byte, then 4 bits equals to a nibble, and 1024 byte or 10 s to the power 10 byte is 1 kilobyte, and 1024 kilobyte equals to 1 megabyte. 1024 megabyte equals to 1 gigabyte. 1024 gigabyte equals to 1 terabyte. 1024 terabyte equals to 1 petabyte, and 1024 petabyte equals to 1 exabyte. 1024 exabyte equals to 1 zettabyte, and 1024 zettabyte equals to 1 yottabyte. These are the maximum. Generally we calculate the bytes or the memory up to the GBs and the MBs and the TBs only, but very soon as the capacity of the computer is needed and the large data companies has to maintain, they go for the higher memory range devices. So now it will be very common soon that these such a high type of memory space devices, like if right now we are just occupying the memory unit or a external device or a pen drive of the 1 terabyte and all, and then very soon you got 1 yottabyte maybe someday in your hand. So as your all the syllabus should be in the computer, maybe your bag is replaced with a uh, pen drive, or maybe your bag replaced with a hard disk, or maybe your bag replaced with the books replaced with the some chips. So all this is possible in this digital world. No, nobody has think that someday you will sitting at your home and we are just teaching you in the by this digital medium. A digital school is running simultaneously. Hope you will enjoying it in the many ways. Though you have to, a lot of things to think that it is not a replacement for the regular school, but still there is it's a new way to learn. It definitely make or prepare you for new challenges, and or to us also, we are also a part of it. So hopefully you will getting whatever I want to tell you within this chapter, or what we want to revise it, and well prepare for your test with this unit. If you have any doubt in this chapter, read it thoroughly, and if there is any doubt you may call me personally, or you have my number also. So that's all for today.